Good evening and welcome to the January 2nd, 2024. Ooh, we have echo? They did.
.8 for the purpose of consultation with the county attorney considering one, the Freedom of Information Act for meetings and the disclosure of public records. Two, requirements applicable to the Planning Commission under the State and Local Government Conflict of Interests Act and the Public Records Act. And three, the statutory basis for the county's comprehensive planning process and special exception site plan process, permitted considerations relevant to those processes, and the Planning Commission's role and responsibilities in them.
I'll
Is there a
second.
Oh, thank you, Commissioner Lantelmi. I will seek unanimous consent that we adopt this motion to move to a closed session. All in favor? Everyone's in favor?
I,
No, we say unanimous consent. Great.
well,
Moving
hold
forward.
on. I think that do we have to get, when the county board votes to go into closed session, they are required to they're required to be on record unanimously. I think, the cleanest way of doing this might be to just do a roll call vote.
That's correct.
Okay, scratch that. We're doing a roll call vote on this motion. Commissioner Robertson? What? Guevara, Commissioner Guevara, I'm sorry.
Aye.
Long day. Aye. Commissioner Streiner?
Aye.
Commissioner Weir?
Aye.
Commissioner Sarley?
Aye.
Commissioner Lantelmi?
Aye.
Commissioner Peterson?
Aye.
Commissioner Begley?
Aye.
Turkey.
Berkey, thank you. Commissioner Berkey?
Aye.
And I, Commissioner Steinberger, aye. We will go to, we are in closed session. Do I gavel now? Thank you for your patience. We are looking for a motion to reopen our closed session. And someone to fix the echo.
I move that the members of the Planning Commission certify, one, that only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meetings requirements under Chapter 37, Title 2.2 of the Code of Virginia, and two, only such business matters were discussed in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened were heard, discussed, or considered by the commission.
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Peterson, for the motion and Commissioner Lantelmi for seconding. We will do a roll call vote to bring us back. Let's start on this side. Commissioner Berkey.
Aye.
Commissioner Begley.
Aye.
Commissioner Peterson.
Aye.
Commissioner Lantelmi.
Aye.
Commissioner Sarli.
Aye.
Steiner.
Aye.
Commissioner Weir.
Aye.
Commissioner Guevara.
Aye.
Commissioner Robertson.
Aye.
Commissioner Steinberger. Aye. The motion carries unanimously. We are back in open session. Madam Clerk, can you please call the next item on the agenda?
Yes, thank you. Our item for the evening is a site plan on Red Lion Inn. Item number 1A, DP-364-231 is the amendment to the GLUT plan. 1B, REZN 23-00005 rezoning. 1C, SPLA 22-00044. The site plan was site plan number 233. And we also have an ordinance of vacation. We have Adam Watson, our planning staff, to present this item this evening.
Madam Clerk, I apologize. I meant to read the rest of our script. Do you want me to do that now that we returned from closed session?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
A moment for that. Tonight, the commission will consider a GLUP amendment, rezoning site plan and ordinance of vacation for the Red Lion Inn site plan project. Before we begin, I would like to share a few logistical points for all participants joining the meeting remotely and in person. For presenters and speakers joining us through Microsoft Teams, please keep your phones and other electronic devices muted until you are called upon by the clerk. Please turn off the sound to any devices around you to minimize interference. Please keep your cameras off until the clerk announces your name to speak. When called upon, you must unmute yourself by clicking on the microphone icon that is in the meeting command bar at the top of the screen. Neither the moderator nor the clerk have the ability to unmute your mic. Once you have spoken, please mute your mics and turn your cameras off. If you are dialing in by phone to join the meeting, press *6 to unmute. Public speakers will be called upon by the clerk at an assigned time. Pre-registration and email confirmation to speak at tonight's hearing was required. We are not able to accommodate additional speakers. All speakers, virtual/hybrid, will receive 2 minutes to comment as an individual. Only representatives of a county board appointed advisory group, committee, and/or commission will receive 3 minutes to comment. A timer will be displayed on the screen of speaking virtually, and speakers in person will follow the timer stationed to the podium. Audio of tonight's meeting is available via phone. If commissioners, presenters, or speakers lose internet connectivity, please reconnect by phone. However, if you're dialing in by phone and unable to see the screen, we will provide an audible 30-second warning to wrap up. You'll be muted when your time has expired. The meeting chat is active for presenters or commissioners who need technical assistance only. Please do not use the meeting chat for discussion, public comment, questions about agenda items, or requests for further information. All public comments must be shared verbally for the record during the assigned public testimony period. Tonight's meeting will be available for review through the YouTube platform. A link has been provided on the Planning Commission website 24 to 48 hours after the adjournment of the meeting. Although the meetings will no longer be a live broadcast, the meetings will be available for review with closed captioning on Comcast Xfinity channels 25 and 1085, Verizon Fios channels 39 and 40, 24 to 48 hours after the adjournment of the meeting. Lastly, this is a public forum. Tonight's meeting will be recorded and posted to the county website via a link to YouTube as stated. All information associated with tonight's meeting, whether written or spoken, is subject to the Virginia Freedom of Information Act requirements. Madam Clerk has already called the first item, and I appreciate your indulgence of that. Mr. Watson, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. So yes, as previously mentioned, I will be covering the site plan amendment project for 1501 Arlington Boulevard tonight that has 3 elements: the general land use plan amendment, the rezoning, and the site plan itself. And then also my presentation will cover the ordinance of vacation. So this site is located at 1501 Arlington Boulevard and is comprised of the Williamsburg Apartments, the Ellis Arms Apartments, and the existing Red Lion Hotel, and is bordered to the north by the Belvedere condominiums and the Park Roslyn Apartments as well. It has frontages on North Pierce Street and on Fairfax Drive. Just a little bit of background about this site. The buildings that exist today were constructed in the 1950s. In 1985, the county board approved a site plan to have a new hotel addition, the addition that still stands today. In 2019, the county board approved a site plan amendment for new construction to build a 10-story condominium tower and a 12-story 160-unit hotel. However, although that was approved, it was not constructed. So that amendment included adding the Ellis Arms Apartments parcel that I just mentioned, but at the time did not include the Williamsburg Apartments parcel. So just to note that the GLUP Note 13 for the SCHPD has already been applied and is still valid for the all of the site except for the Williamsburg Apartments, which I'll show in later slides. Should this amendment be approved, it would supersede the 2019 approval for the site. So the general land use plan designation for the site is high medium residential uniformly. That allows a base density up to 3.24 FAR. As you'll note from the map here on the screen, the Special Affordable Housing Protection District applies to this area, has already been added to the site with the exception of that Williamsburg apartment parcel, which we hope will be approved tonight. In terms of rezoning, the applicant does request to rezone the area shown in blue here. This is the RAH portion of the site to RA 4.8. That is consistent with the general land use plan, and the staff supports that rezoning. To briefly summarize the applicant's proposal for construction, it would be to expand the site by approximately 14,000 feet. Redevelop the site with a single 8-story multifamily residential building with total density of 4.76 FAR, 446 dwelling units total. Parking is within the building at a ratio of 0.57 spaces per dwelling unit or 255 parking spaces total. Some additional additional zoning modifications for additional density, reduced parking and loading requirements, and density exclusions for below grade storage areas. Mike Haluski is here with me this evening, but I'm also just going to cover briefly the proposed vacations. There's 3 areas to be vacated, essentially to allow for redevelopment to occur. So jumping into our regulations and policy for this site, I wanted to begin with the Special Affordable Housing Protection District. This is an overlay district on the GLUP. And what it does is ensures that existing low and moderate income apartment units are replaced on sites planned for densities of 3.24 FAR or higher when redevelopment is requested. So the site plan amendment triggers the SAHPD because we're looking at demolition of the Williamsburg and Ellis Arms apartments, which combined have 28 units and 42 bedrooms, and the proposed density, as I mentioned, is above 3.24 FAR. This policy is typically applied through replacement of bedrooms on a 1-for-1 basis on site. And so to continue with what the proposal is, as we discussed at our second SPRC meeting, the applicant proposes to dedicate 24 units on site, a total of 42 bedrooms, 7 1-bedroom units, 16 2-bedroom units, and 1 3-bedroom unit. So this proposal matches the total existing bedrooms to be demolished on a 1-for-1 basis. It's slightly less in the unit count, but the reason why is because we're getting majority family size units here. So we're getting more 2-bedroom units than we previously had on site, as well as 1 3-bedroom unit. And again, the GLUP amendment here is to add note 13 to that Williamsburg Apartments parcel. Some additional policy guidance just to discuss to help set the stage here. The Roslyn Station Area Plan Addendum, which is adopted in 1992, did not have any site-specific guidance for this site, but did include some overall objectives which staff used to analyze the applicant's proposal. That includes creating more urban form, exemplifying good architecture and a good urban design practice, increasing our opportunities for housing, and providing an integrated system of transportation that emphasizes a multimodal approach. This site is also outside of the Roslyn sector plan study area for those who might be wondering. We also have off-street parking guidelines for multifamily residential buildings, and those guidelines recommend a parking ratio as low as 0.4 spaces per dwelling unit for market rate units on the site. To summarize some of the project's evolution through the SPRC process, this is not an exhaustive list, but just to highlight 3 things. The first, the thing that applicant worked with both the SPRC members and staff on was to add some visual interest, pedestrian interest, and biophilic touch, I'd say, to the transformer gates along Fairfax Drive. There's 3 of them that screen the at-grade transformers, to add a tree motif in there that relates back to Hillside Park, which is to the north of the site. Moving to the middle of the screen, the applicant worked with us to pull back the building massing at the corner of North Pierce and Fairfax Drive. There's a bicycle entry storage room and entry point there, which is great. It was a little bit of a pinch point, so the applicant worked with us to pull the building massing back a little bit to have improved circulation there on the sidewalk and a little bit of coverage as you're trying to get your bike into the bike room. Lastly, as part of a larger change in the overall architecture of the building, it was noted during SPRC that the lobby area perhaps was not having quite as much prominence as it could have. And so the applicant went back and took a look at that, and the design changes, and I would say, definitely increase the amount of plantings, landscaping, and biophilic elements here, which includes a planted canopy just above the lobby entrance. So in terms of zoning and policy compliance, this proposal meets all of our zoning requirements, including for land use and building height. Building is about 62 feet shorter than the district maximum would allow. It fulfills the SAHPD policy by providing those units replaced on a 1-for-1 basis, as I previously mentioned. And it furthers the goals of the plan addendum and our other land use policies generally, creating 418 net new dwelling units and a transit-rich and multimodal environment, creating a better urban form. This project will eliminate surface parking lots. It's going to significantly reduce curb cut widths. The architecture, I think, is an improvement. And then again, in addition to that, just some of the standard site plan improvements, such as undergrounding the overhead power lines that are on the frontage today. In addition, they're going to be implementing new streetscape standards and ADA improvement. They've worked with us before SPRC even began to ensure that there's adequate right-of-way width along Fairfax Drive for the future Arlington Boulevard Trail capital project. Lastly, the proposed parking ratio is consistent with our residential parking guidelines. So touch briefly on community benefits. I already spoke about the affordable dwelling units for the SAHPD. The applicant is also doing the 0.35 FAR level of the Green Building Incentive program, which is above the lowest rung of the GBIP. So that includes 20% energy optimization, post-occupancy Energy Star certification of at least 80. All of the baseline prerequisites that I've listed on the screen, as well as 3 items from the extras list of that policy. In terms of our community engagement process, we began back in late July with our online engagement that covered all of the relevant topics at SPRC. We had our first SPRC meeting in September. We covered our land use, building massing and height, architecture. The applicant introduced a number of changes at our second SPRC meeting in November. We also touched on housing generally, transportation, landscaping, biophilia, and community benefits as well. So we were here in January at our commission meetings. The Transportation Commission recommended to approve unanimously, a vote of 9-0 last Thursday. We'll be going to Housing Commission tomorrow night, and then ultimately to the County Board on January 20th. So just to, again, highlight a couple of key findings of our goals and objectives. Overall, we think that this project really advances a number of important elements: affordable housing, 24 CAFs on site, including a large number of family size units, sustainable design at the 0.35 level. Again, new housing, which supports that plan addendum policy goal, as well as the GLUP. Improved urban design, especially along the streetscape, And I just want to mention again and thank the applicant for working with us ahead of time to ensure that adequate space was available in the right of way to have that Capitol Boulevard Trail project come in later. So with that, we recommend that Planning Commission adopt all three of the items related to the site plan, and then also find that the ordinance vacation is substantially in accord with the comprehensive plan of Arlington County. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I believe we have a presentation from the applicant. Your show.
We do. Nicholas Cummings with Walsh Colucci on behalf of the applicant or partners. We're excited to bring you the Red Line project today for consideration. As many of you are aware, and Adam referred to a lot of this, and I'll try to quicken this up a bit and not be repetitive. There was a site plan approval for the property in 2019. That project proposed a small condominium building about 50 units in a new hotel, but given the difficulties in the hospitality market in particular during COVID, it became infeasible to move forward with that proposal. Fortunately, however, our partners stepped in and joined with the hotel owners to bring you the application you are reviewing today, which is for a single multifamily building delivering 446 much needed residential units, of which 24 will be committed affordable housing, including 1 3-bedroom and 16 2-bedroom units, meeting an important need for family-sized affordable housing. The project is continually improved during review by both staff and the Site Plan Review Committee, and we thank everyone involved in this process for their comments and constructive suggestions. In particular, we worked prior to and just after initial submission of the project to accommodate a newly planned bike lane on Fairfax Drive that Adam just mentioned, and that required us to shrink the floor plate of our building, and I believe we did that after submitting our initial design. So we were working with the county as they designed the train while it was on the track, so to speak, but we were happy to do so. We think that that improvement is going to do a lot for this neighborhood and for our future residents as well. We worked hard to improve the design as well after receiving some very helpful and constructive feedback during the SPRC process, reinforced, of course, by comments from county staff. We listened, we agreed, and we made changes that I think everyone agrees deliver a better product. We changed facade materials, design, patterns, and enhanced our commitment to biophilic design with some creative and thoughtful elements that I think you'll see later in our presentation. With that, Tyler Orr is going to speak to you briefly about Orr Partners and its experience in Arlington and its intentions with this property, followed by Chris Gordon from KGD Architecture, who's going to give you a brief overview of the building design. Thank you.
So Orr Partners has been doing business in Arlington County for the past 25 years. My father started the company 35 years ago. And most recently, our project in Central Arlington was delivering a really big success on that project. And then more recently, we got approved the Joyce Motors project, which we're looking forward to getting into permitting here very shortly. And I just wanted to thank everyone who's participated in the SPRC. I think it has really made a much better building and turned it into a great project. And we're excited to present to you today. With that, I'll turn it over to Chris Gordon to talk through some of the architecture.
Hi, I'm Chris Gordon with KGD Architecture. We'll start with the first view. This is coming off of Arlington Boulevard heading eastbound towards the district. One of the significant changes we heard from staff is to open up this corner to provide better views around the corner, but also to provide a more of a threshold or an entrance to it. This is a secondary entrance to the project, but we feel it's going to be fairly heavily used since it's going to have a better access to Roslyn, the transportation, Hillside Park. You'll notice that we added a curved facade on this corner, and that's to create a more unified and streamlined look that we felt would unify and create a more dynamic architectural element across, especially at the cornice line at the top. And as you can see, once you move down towards the pedestrian scale, we break that massing down and also change the materials to predominantly brick. Above that, it's predominantly cementitious panels along with brick, but it's predominantly brick at the base. And then we've also introduced some architectural panels for some of the access. The unfortunate aspect of this site, it's a very large site, but all site access is dependent upon Fairfax Drive to come in and out of the project. So we have to address some of these areas with decorative panels and sensitive materials. You can see here, this is a view looking the opposite direction, a little higher up. Arlington Boulevard is below. You can see Fairfax Drive in the foreground. We have a series of 3 courtyard spaces. This is the largest and the only one that's opened towards the south. We've added a lot of biophilic elements to it, including a canopy. We can get into a little bit more detail if requested on how we are landscaping and detailing that element. We also opened up the 3-story lobby space that meets the street and made it much more transparent especially in the evening in the wintertime when it's lit from the inside, people can see it. The massing you can see tilting back to open up views to downtown and also to provide much more of an iconic shape for people on Arlington Boulevard heading westbound. At the street, these are the access points to the far left. You can see the pedestrian access we were just talking about, opening up that corner. Loading access, the primary entrance in the middle with the purple, and then the garage access. I don't think we have to dwell on these numbers, but we've already been talking about these. But these are the numbers for EV parking and loading and bicycle parking. In terms of lane sustainability, we've gone to LEED Gold. We'd like to achieve that. And with all these elements, heat reduction with a high albedo roof, all electric appliances, garage reuse. There is an existing 3.5-story below grade parking structure for the hotel that we're going to reuse through refurbishing the existing concrete structure. Community benefits. This is the list that staff has also talked about. I don't know if we have to go through this again. Context for the neighbor and connectivity. We're fortunate enough, it's a very heavily traveled corridor with Arlington Boulevard and Fairfax Drive on the edge of downtown Roslyn. But we have the fortune of having connectivity to a lot of great outdoor spaces and very thoughtful, previously designed outdoor parks, including Hillside Park. This is looking down at the project for some of our on-site open space. I talked about the 3 different courtyard spaces. To the far right, labeled as B, is the courtyard that we were just looking at from a view up above. There's also 2 other internal courtyards, C and D, and then on top of the roof, we have an outdoor terrace as well. Talking about some of the biophilic elements, this is very important to us because some of the lifestyle designs that we have for the interiors and for the overall feel for the building, we call it sort of California cool. You can start to see some of those ideas. The planting here has been sensitively done. There are a lot of pollinator plants as asked for by some of the civic associations. The screening on the garage on the lower left-hand side, D, is also introducing some imagery for biophilic patterning that are used for architectural. And then the planted canopy you can see on the left-hand side. A picture of what a prototype of that is on A up above. This is a canopy up in New York City that's been very successful. We're copying that kind of element for this and taking that into the 3-story space and connecting it to the courtyard area on the 3rd floor. Next. A little bit of a close-up of that same canopy so you can get some idea of the planting. If you have particular questions about the planting, we have the landscape architect here as well. These are examples on the right-hand side of the proposed planting. And that's it.
Thank you. Do we have any commissions to be recognized?
I believe, yes, we do. Please come forward.
Okay, the floor is yours.
Hi, I'm Rob Sandoli with the Climate Change, Energy and Environment Commission. And on behalf of the commission, I'm pleased to present our assessment and recommendations to the Planning Commission. I will briefly summarize what we've put into our letter to the board. And overall, in general, as the commission knows, we C2E2 assesses the building design according to both the green building incentive policy as well as against the more stringent and aspirational county's community energy plan. And while we appreciate the design and the way that the applicant has worked on certain aspects of the design to improve it, we still find that the building design falls short of the aspirational goals of where the county wants to be if we were going to achieve our 2050 target of being zero emissions. So overall, we scored the project with our own internal scoring matrix at a 69%, which is good, but not great. And we need to be great if we're going to be great as a county and reduce our emissions. So I'll briefly summarize the four main things that we need to do to hit that target. One is the building has to be highly efficient, has to be fully electric. It should use renewable electricity, and it should minimize its carbon footprint through the use of low carbon materials. The applicant has done well on many parts. The main thing we want to stress is the all electric part of the building. There's no reason in today's day and age, designs are out there for an all electric building. There should be no need for fossil fuels at all in the building. We'd also like to promote more solar on site. I might pass the 2-minute mark, or do we have? Okay, good. Okay. So I'll briefly run through some of the other recommendations that we've made. We hope can be incorporated into the design. First, heat pump water heaters are more efficient electric water heaters, and we hope that they can be incorporated. We would like to see the parking spots, 50% of them be EV ready to plan for the future instead of the more minimal level that's currently proposed. And to close on a positive note, we do appreciate the biophilia designs and improvements there. That was one of the recommendations we made and others made as well. I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much.
Any other commissions? Any public speakers?
Yes, we do have about 6, I believe, public speakers.
Okay.
The first speaker I'm going to call is Mr. Bernie Byrne, who's virtual.
Mr. Byrne? Yeah, you may start. You are on mute, Mr. Byrne, I believe. Mr. Byrne, can you unmute yourself? We're not able to hear you. He's saying he's not on mute. Okay. Oop. No. Do we have to turn something on for him? What? No, I understand that.
Mr. Byrne, can you check your headset, please, that you have on? We still can't hear you. He doesn't. Mr. Byrne, we're going to come back to you and give you some time to fix your technical difficulties. Thank you. Our next speaker is Stuart Stein, followed by Leslie Arminsky.
Thank you. I'm here representing Rayfom. Our first concern is for our neighbors that will be displaced by this project. We are very happy to see that the developer was concerned about them and interested in helping them to give them an all an opportunity to live in the new building. I believe very strongly that the current residents of market affordable units should not have to rely on the kindness of developers or to be lucky enough to get a developer that cares, such as this one. For years, I've asked the county to guarantee the ability of current residents to return at the rate that they left, especially when bonus is involved. With so few residents remaining, there is no reason that each and every one of them should be given this opportunity, even if they didn't fit into the CAF regulations. We support the Belvedere in their concerns and discussions on this project. Also, we are concerned about the parking ratio and feel is insufficient for the scale of this project. I know you would prefer less, and that any shortfall is probably county policy, not the developer's fault. I personally wish there were more EV spaces, certainly more EV-ready spaces. In all cases, infrastructure should not preclude the future implementation of EV on a broader scale. Thank you.
Thank you.
Leslie Arminsky is followed by Roland Binker.
Right, can you hear me? All right. Good evening. My name is Leslie Arminsky. While I'm both on the Belvedere and Rayfom boards tonight, I am speaking for myself. I became aware of the Red Lion project about when approached by David Orr about 2 years ago after testifying in this very room. Since that time, the Belvedere has had numerous collegial conversations with representatives of Orr partners. I thank the Orr team for taking the time to work through a number of issues. I also thank Adam Watson of county staff and SBRC Chair Nia Bagley and Co-Chair Eric Berkey for taking the time to meet with Belvedere representatives. The Belvedere's safety concerns regarding pedestrian vehicle interactions were allayed with the agreement to keep access to the Red Lion site off of their driveway and easement, as was the case in the 2019 site plan. Other negotiations are on various topics remain to be determined. At this point, I want to associate myself with remarks to be made by the president of the Belvedere Condominium Unit Owners Association. I think he's speaking next, that would be Roland Binker. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Roland Binker is followed by William Lawson.
Evening, I'm Roland Binker, president of the Belvedere Condominium Unit Owners Association. The Belvedere would like to support this new development. Unfortunately, we cannot because the proposal negatively impacts about 30 of the units in the Belvedere that are very near and look directly at the northeast corner of the new project. The Belvedere has recommended some design changes which were not incorporated in the design. These changes also were not requested by the SPRC. Therefore, the Belvedere neither supports nor opposes the application. We look forward to the removal of the vacant Ellis Arms apartment building, its unused parking lot, and the unused wings of the hotel. These constitute an attractive nuisance, so replacing them with a vibrant community will benefit the entire neighborhood. By playing a significant role in the procedural process for this application, we do have a couple suggestions that will make
Bernie Byrne. I'm available now on the phone.
A better project for all concerned. First, the roof is covered by an array of HVAC units. While there is screening on the sides, more neighbors will be above and looking down on these. Please explore options to improve the aesthetics and acoustics of the rooftop HVAC units. And then the second one, we request that the owner of the property establish a hotline to contact the property's management during off hours to address any issues that arise, such as noise coming from parties late at night or early morning hours. It is not helpful to submit complaints after the fact. Such issues should be resolved quickly, and this was raised during the 2019 site plan review for the property. We want to thank the developers for the most recent 4.1 submission that keeps traffic off the Belvedere driveway and addresses the safety concerns. So we thank Arlington County staff and our partners for keeping us apprised as the project has moved forward. We trust we'll be able to resolve easements and other issues as the negotiations have just begun. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, it appears Mr. Bernie Byrne has rejoined us. Why don't we do his audio and then we'll resume with the in-person? Is that okay?
Mr. Byrne, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, you can go ahead and give your testimony, please. Thank you.
Okay, yes, thank you. This project lacks biophilia, at least a significant amount of biophilia. It does not deserve LEED Gold. For example, the streetscape has too much pavement. The building needs setbacks from the sidewalk that can have attractive plantings that will help restore this county's declining populations of monarch butterflies and other pollinators. Most of the Fairfax Drive and Pierce Street frontages need planter boxes or open spaces that can contain native plants. There is too little green space next to the sidewalks in the private amenity terraces facing 16th Street, in the 3 courtyards, and on an observation deck at the root level. Most of the roof has no plantings. The building needs a real green roof, much of which native nectar plants could cover. The building also needs green walls with trellises that vines can climb. The landscape plan has lists that shows the species of shrubs, perennials, and ground covers. However, most plants are not native to Northern Virginia or are cultivars that may not feed pollinators. Many are wind-pollinated grass and sedges. These don't produce nectar, which such flower pollinators as butterflies, moths, hummingbirds, and flies require for survival. The list contains butterfly weed, Asclepias tuberosa, which is illustrated. This is a milkweed. However, it is a wrong milkweed. Monarchs lay few eggs on this plant. There is no common milkweed, Asclepias syriaca. This is the only plant that monarchs prefer when laying eggs, and it survives well in all its natural areas. In contrast to butterfly weed, common milkweed is among the most important food plants for monarch caterpillars in the northeastern United States. The applicant needs to plant common milkweed instead of butterfly weed. I've sent my comments about the list deficiencies of the applicant, but have received no response. Please therefore address these deficiencies in your recommendation to the county board. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Byrne. That was our last speaker for the evening. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Lawson. Sorry, forgive me.
Yes, for the record, I'm William B. Lawson. I'm an attorney representing the Belvedere. Because of the nature of construction of this project, being stick-built, as a result, it's kind of spread out, and it's very close to the common property line with the Belvedere. There are 3 things that could result in a negative impact to the Belvedere if not properly addressed. That's the facade that faces the Belvedere. You also have the rooftop equipment, and then you have the excavation that will occur next to the common property line. We suggested a couple of very minor changes to the conditions, mostly so that the Belvedere could get copies of plans before approved by the county. Otherwise, we're kind of stuck with whatever the county approves. The most significant issue really is the right at the edge of our driveway at the common property line is a cliff, and there will be excavation that occurs. We'll probably end up doing some tiebacks or something of that nature. But we think it's important we see that drawing ahead of county approval in order to, we may even have to have engineers look at it to make sure that it doesn't impact the structural integrity of some of the Belvedere property. So if you all would be so inclined, we would ask that these couple ticks be made to the conditions. I've submitted a copy to Nick and also to the staff, and they may or may not have a opinion on these. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I believe now that concludes our public speakers. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Do we have any commission, I believe Transportation Commission heard this? Yes, please.
Yeah, as mentioned earlier, this was heard at the Transportation Commission last Thursday. The discussion involved a number of items. For example, EV spaces. We questioned whether the 50 that are planned to immediately exist or be expandable to that, whether it's possible to go beyond that. The applicant said that the construction of the building is such that they could go beyond the 50 spaces that are already planned. Had a question about the stormwater vacation. Apparently the pipe underneath the property is no longer needed once the old building comes down. That's the reason for that. Question was where there would be deliveries and rideshare drop-offs. Pickup and drop-off will be initially as an interim condition for the street along street parking until the bike lanes are built. After the bike lanes are done, there would be pickup and drop-off in the garage. We also questioned why the bus shelter wasn't going to be built right away, and that's of course because the Metrobus line that used to go by there does not go now. It has been suspended. However, space is being reserved that if a bus route is reinstituted, there is space for a bus shelter that could be built. Overall, the commission liked the fact that the garage is being reused, that space is being saved for the Arlington Boulevard Trail. Also, having the bike room at grade is a real plus for us. So overall, Planning Commission is in favor of this. It voted 9-0 with no amendments. Transportation Commission, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Lantelmi. Any other sub-commissions or commissions, this body? Okay. Commissioner Begley, you chaired and Commissioner Berkey, you co-chaired that. Would you like to speak to the SBRC?
Yeah, all of you received a report that we put together on Sunday. It went through a summary of all the comments that took place at SPRCs 1 and 2, as well as any outstanding things that we needed to discuss. And those discussion topics are on that report.
Wonderful. I will use the topics as outlined in Commissioner Begley's report for the purposes of our agenda. Discussion by this body, and those cover land use and site design, architecture, sustainability, transportation, community benefits. Any topics in addition to those that we would like to add to that list? Okay,
Would housing be under community benefits?
that depends. Is it affordable housing?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, so we're going to start with land use and site design. Anyone wish to speak to that topic? Architecture. Anyone wishing to speak to architecture? Commissioner Sarli?
I'll put in a good, quick word. I appreciate the developer and the applicant to having sort of received their comments and worked collaborative with the SPRC process.
I will recognize myself with regards to the canopy and the biophilic elements associated with that. I think it's a very nice design. I think that it adds to the project overall, and I was appreciative of that and the way that the design iterated with the SPRC, as Commissioner Sarli mentioned already. Anyone else? Commissioner Streiner?
I would also like to sing the praises of the power line undergrounding. That's not one that's going to get a lot of attention, but for those who get it, we know.
It is required but expensive, so we appreciate that.
And you're the ones footing the bill for that? Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move to sustainability now. For the record, I think your comment could have gone under sustainability too, or any number of other places, but I'll allow it.
I like to keep you guessing. Yeah.
Thank you. Commissioner Peterson?
I also wanted to say I appreciated the biophilic elements of this design. I was at a walking tour the other day, and we felt like some biophilic elements were missing, and I think this is a really good example of how it can be incorporated into the building design. Did think that the rooftop biophilia was a very nice addition as well, and wondered to the comments about the Belvedere and the concerns that a lot of their residents are going to be looking down onto your rooftop, and if there's any way, the HVAC systems can be covered, if there's any way to go even further with some of the nice ways that the rooftop will look to provide that coverage for them.
So the parapet of the wall around the whole entire building is higher than all the HVAC systems, so you won't really be able to see them very well. And then everything else that is large, such as like the DOAS and the generator, backup generator, are all going to be screened.
Okay, and so is your finding that even if they're looking at from like, the 13th story of their building, I'm not sure how tall the Belvedere is, but it's quite tall, that would also be blocked from you at that height?
So you can correct me if I'm wrong, Tyler, but I don't believe that we're doing anything to cover the tops. I think that the experience for someone looking down at the building will be similar to, well, if you go up to the Roslyn observation deck, it's probably been a while since most of us were up there, but you can see how virtually every single building in Arlington County will have that kind of equipment, and there's nothing screening it from the top down. And so that will be the same experience here, where we're not doing anything to fully enclose them, unless you want to correct me, David. That's what I was guessing, is that covering the tops of it would affect the equipment performance, because I'm guessing they ventilate and need access to air above them. Okay.
So then I guess I'll just say what you're already doing with the biophilia on the roof, I think will offset some of the unfortunate mechanical view. And if there's even more that you can do, I think the neighbors will appreciate it. And so will, the air that we're breathing. So, yeah.
Sustainability. Okay. Sorry, my screen shut off. Transportation. We just heard a report from the Transportation Commission. Would anyone like to talk about those items or anything else related to transportation? Commissioner Sarley.
I will speak to the transportation. I think, and this is, I think, more for DES, and I think I spoke with them last time, but I just really want to urge them to keep really close tabs on that bus shelter. It's a little bit of the axe I'm grinding now. I want bus shelters everywhere. If we're going to encourage people to use public transportation, we have to treat them with respect and provide them with bus shelter. I think with the new building coming in and the new tenants coming in, it's going to have a major impact on the use of the route. I know that the route was shut down or lessened recently, shut down. So hopefully, we're ready to reinstate that route and or provide shelter at the stops.
Sorry.
I was going to just say for the record, Commissioner Sarley, we take that to heart, and to that end, we actually already have condition language in the site plan condition or in the site plan ordinance that at the time of the final CEP review, if those suspended lines have come back, that the applicant will be required to find space for a new shelter to put in for those lines. And Ms. Kim is here if you have any other questions about that.
No, thank you. That's perfect.
I had a question with regards to the bus shelter in terms of if the route is reactivated or a new route, added that would cover, in front of the planned site. How long does it take to get a bus shelter built? You can ballpark it. I don't need like down to the day.
Hi, Jane Kim with DS. I believe the way the condition is worded is with the construction of the site itself, and so it would be a part of the site construction. And I do think that the majority of the shelters that are put in are like prefab, so it's not a lot of like physical construction other than making sure that the concrete foundation is installed.
Sorry, so if the bus route is not added back until after construction has completed on the site, then the applicant does not have a requirement to make a bus shelter?
That's correct, but then it would be upon the county to provide such a facility since the space for a shelter is preserved with
Is
the site
the
plan.
space for the shelter is preserved whether or not the bus route exists at the time the building finishes?
Correct.
Okay. And the shelters are still prefab, so it would, in theory, go as quickly for the county to do it as the applicant to do it.
Correct.
In theory. Okay, thank you.
Sure. Okay, so just a couple questions. I think this is probably for Ms. Danowski, who I see online. So we don't get many of these projects. It's been a while, I believe, with the Special Affordable Housing Protection District. Is the affordability term typically 30 years at 60% AMI under that policy?
Correct, yes. 30 years up to 60% AMI, yes.
Do we, so I think it was Mr. Stein, I believe I'm getting that right, brought up some, concerns about displacement of current residents. I understand that there's tenant relocation plan, there's, rental, there's an assistance package, which I think will go before tenant landlord commission. But I guess my question is, do we have any idea of how many current residents would income qualify at that 60% level at this point? Probably pretty early on that, though.
I would defer to the applicant on that question.
Okay.
Excuse me, if I could interrupt for a second. Melissa, can you identify yourself, please?
Apologize. I'm Melissa Danowski, and I'm with the Housing Division.
Thank you.
I think roughly, I'm sorry, David or partners. I think roughly 50% of them would qualify.
Okay. Okay. So a follow-up question for Ms. Danowski then. So in the proposal here, it speaks to moderate and low-income residents. And so I took a look at our definition of that, and I believe that's up to 80%. But here we're talking about the units being at 60%. I guess trying to put this in the form of a question, is that something staff would work with the applicant on? If we have some folks who would like to stay but may be above that 60% threshold, I imagine it sounds like for Mr. Orr that may be the case. And I know that I'm always interested in seeing if we can avoid, displacement of current residents.
If I may speak to that.
Go ahead. Yes.
Okay. So from the very beginning of our SPRC discussions, our friends and neighbors at Rayfom and Belvedere have collectively expressed sincere concern about our neighbors and their displacement. And we took that to heart. And and my son Tyler has gone out and met with every single one of the residents that are there. Two of them didn't open their doors, but the rest we were able to talk to. And we reached out to them to talk to them about their plan. Some of them have had some personal issues. Some of them are delinquent. And I just wanted this commission to know that we are not enforcing the leases. We are working with them in every way that we can to bring them back to community. Our property manager, Van Meter, has identified 2 properties that are market rate affordable to bring them to. One is Park Roslyn and one is Park Georgetown. So our intention and our heart is with you, all of you, on this in trying to do what we can to not displace these people. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think that was a good discussion. Anyone else wishing to be heard? Yes, Commissioner Begley.
I'm not sure it comes under community benefits, but to the question that was raised tonight about a hotline, I'm not sure I would call it a hotline, but I know that you have already made great strides to work with the community. You'll figure out a way to meet that request moving on, correct?
Yes, ma'am. I think the concern is that if something happens after hours, we want to be able to call and have somebody advocate for us.
Right.
And so we'll set that up where they have that availability. We'll commit to that.
Okay, wonderful. And you will be keeping them apprised. I know that there will be a construction manager and everything appointed, but you will be making every effort through that person who is not here, who has not heard any of this, that they will be keeping everybody who is a neighbor duly informed of any changes, your timeline, the whole bit.
Of course. So the primary point of contact, the number that we would give out pursuant to the standard condition, I'd be surprised if that wasn't Mr. Tyler Orr, Mr. David Orr, or someone else from Orr Partners, who I've probably met at this point, who's fairly senior there, right? So I think that we're going to have a good conduit of communication there for sure. I want to be clear on all of this, that we're not going to right now agree, and I don't think we will agree to the changes to the standard conditions. I think staff is probably in the same place with us on that, just given the difficulty for zoning to enforce unique conditions like that for every single property. But we have had a good relationship with the Belvedere so far, and we plan, just as you mentioned, Commissioner Bagley, to continue to have an open line of communication with them. At this point, both Mr. Lawson and his colleague, Kenneth Ingram, who's another lawyer who represents the Belvedere on various issues, have my contact information and speak to me frequently. We can also commit that someone from Orr Partners, and when I say commit, I mean we're making a promise to all of you, we'll let them know when we file for building permits, other documents like that. What I don't want to do is make changes to the conditions that then lead to very unique circumstances in the various checklists that zoning has to run through, and then add more process, more burden, and more work for really the county at the end of the day, but also us to get through the permitting process, just checking the boxes. But we will continue to talk to everyone there. They will get copies of everything that we file, and they're welcome to take a look at it and give us any suggestions that they have. There'll be a property manager on site too, and that person is a fantastic individual to call if there's noise from a party or anything like that. We do have, and I want to say in this building, and I know that Mr. Ryan Orr spoke to this at SPRC, there's a little bit more sound attenuation in this building than you would normally see, just given the proximity to Route 50. So I'm really hoping that spillover noise is less of an issue for the Belvedere than it might be in a typical situation. Obviously, it's an urban environment, so I'm not thinking that a birthday party on the 6th floor of this building is going to be particularly impactful to the residents at the Belvedere. But if it is, they can call us. So, and I expect to hear from them.
And again, I would just like to take a moment to thank all of you for being great to work with, and also staff for all of your efforts on this project.
Commissioner Guevara.
Yes, I also want to associate myself with that. And I wanted to say thank you for what you mentioned about going knocking on doors with the residents. I think that's amazing. And it shows how wonderful it's been to work with you guys. I know during certain SPRCs, we talked about affordable housing and creating more 3-bedroom and 2-bedroom units. And I think it really speaks volumes of how hard you guys have tried to increase the number of units, particularly for families, larger families. So I really appreciate that. Thank you.
I'm going to call on myself. With regards to the units that are being held for the market rate affordable, I'm very appreciative that there's it's not just a bunch of 1-bedroom units, because we've discussed in this body ad nauseum that what we need are larger units. And obviously there's, plus, if you can't have children of different genders sharing rooms. So if you have, a boy and a girl, then you would kind of automatically need more or less a 3-bedroom unit. So while I'm appreciative that one of the units being set aside is a 3-bedroom unit, I'm wondering if there's a consideration to, even if we had to move some of the 2-bedroom units that are offered, to create an additional 1 or 2 more 3-bedroom units. I think that would be a trade-off that this commission would probably appreciate. And I wondered if that's something that you all would consider, and if the math still worked out and you're providing the same number of bedrooms, I think this would be a really great opportunity, because we rarely see 3-bedroom held market rate affordable units that come before us. And this is an opportunity when you're clearly going to have 3-bedroom units. You found one. I'm asking you guys to see what you could do to find 1 or 2 more. You can put your little heads together and think on that one, but I'm seeing some nods across okay, I'm going to go to Commissioner Guevara on that one because she's raising her hand, but I do see some consensus in this body that that's something that we would appreciate.
And can you imagine if you raise the bar, then we can hold you as an example to everyone else. You'd be, the star here.
Yeah, we talk to a lot of people.
So I'll set expectations, and I will commit that we of course can look at anything. It not only needs to work out in the number of bedrooms, but I know that there are economic differences between a 3-bedroom with rents and 2 bedrooms. And so we would need to look at the whole package too, because we're already well above sort of the value of community benefit density on the site and other things. And we've obviously satisfied the policy, in greatly by meeting the bedroom for bedroom replacement metric. I think the prior approval on this site was a square footage replacement metric, which would have resulted in fewer units here if we went under that, arm of the policy. Obviously, we've got much larger units, which is nice. So I'll emphasize that too, that, the 1 and 2 bedroom units in the existing buildings are much smaller than the units that the tenants will enjoy in the new building. And obviously the amenities are first rate. This is a, very nice brand new building. There's actually quite a few things that they're considering doing from a amenity perspective that I've heard about that are really, really cool. And the idea that the folks who are currently living in the Ellis Arms or the Williamsburg apartments will get to then enjoy those in a subsidized unit actually kind of, warms my heart, certainly. So we will take a look at that, but I just want to warn you that there is a different economic analysis too that we'll have to look at, but we certainly can talk to housing and talk to planning and see if maybe a little switch could help.
I mean, don't you know that the reward for doing a job well done is you're asked to do it again and do it better? That's what I'm always told. That's how I end up getting more work.
If
so
it
I'm
works
just-
out, and I hope it does, great, but we'll take a look. Absolutely.
I appreciate that. And this was not me strong arming you. I mean, I don't really have that capability, but it is something that I know this commission would appreciate. And I know you guys have already done wonderful outreach to the community and we're pleased to hear about that. So like I said, the reward for doing good work is we ask you to do more of it.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Commissioner, Madam Chairman, excuse me. Are you asking if we can take, by way of example, 3 one-bedroom affordable units and turn it into 1 3-bedroom affordable unit? Okay, that's what you're, okay. I just wanted to clarify. I get it. The idea is that you want larger family-sized units is what you really.
That is what we frequently hear is the missing need when it comes to affordable housing in Arlington and the opportunity here to get more bedrooms in a larger unit with those bedrooms. If it means, by trading some of the 1-bedroom units is a trade that I think this commission would welcome.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
Of course. Thank you for asking. Commissioner Streiner.
And so on that, on the 2 bedrooms, I know we talked with other developers, and a lot of them have 2 bedrooms with a den or 2 bedrooms, with an extra large family room, that kind of thing. Is there any sort of like extra spare room or just a larger, main room that these 2-bedroom units have that make it that these sort of the user could customize, say, to make it more that it would be able to hold more individuals?
I think the general sentiment is that what the county is seeking is more family-sized units. And I think what we will do is work on that. My son Ryan is on and he runs all of this for us. May I ask him to speak to this? Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Ryan, would you like to speak to this discussion about possibly a few more family units in trade for smaller 1-bedroom units in terms of our unit mix for the affordable housing?
Or even just, understanding like how big these 2 bedrooms are, because they make up the majority of the affordable units. And I'm just kind of getting a better idea.
Oh, I see. That's a good point.
Yeah.
So your point is if your 2 bedrooms are larger, can you make a 2-bedroom, maybe get rid of a couple of the dens?
Yeah.
And then voila, we end up with a 3-bedroom unit.
Yeah, you
something
could
like that.
custom make a 3rd bedroom in there, because I
Right.
know that people get creative.
So Ryan's our expert in unit design. Ryan, do you have any comment?
Yeah, I think we're happy to explore the 3-bedroom, adding more 3 bedrooms in lieu of 1 or 2s. The 2s as they're designed now, it's probably pretty tight to add a 3rd bedroom. We typically, are solving for pretty efficient floor plans and don't have a lot of leftover space. I mean, we're happy to look at that. As we stated before, I think it would be more of a holistic look. I don't think that there's an easy, slot a bedroom in situation.
Gotcha. Yeah. So it's not like there's a large den area that could be converted by the tenant.
It's going to take some work and we're committed to doing it. We're going to work on it.
If I may say from experience, you can put a child in a den. It can't be considered a bedroom
Right, yeah.
legally, but a child will sleep in a den.
And a large master bedroom closet and a vacation home, wherever they need to.
Wherever they fit.
Commissioner Patel.
So this is a largely uncontroversial project, and I recognize that, and I appreciate the efforts that you guys have put into this. But I would just wanted to make this one point. While I appreciate the discussion on larger bedrooms and making those more affordable, the real conversation lies at 30%. And so what we need to do as a community is make sure that we have a supply at 30% and not just always at 60%. I think that that's the conversation that needs to, if we were going to spend so much time on a project, potentially that conversation needed to be the one that we elevated here tonight. I know that we have had this discussion with other properties that you guys have developed, and the missed opportunity to include 30% affordable units. Thank you.
Right, yeah, just quick. I do note that both the Ellis Arms and the Williamsburg maxed out at 2 bedrooms, so there was no 3 bedrooms, and so we're ahead of the game already. So that's great. I was at the SBRCs. This was a very, very cooperative process. I want to compliment not just the developer, but also the neighbors on this. Everybody really worked together to come together to make this a good project. My only disappointment is that you're not taking advantage of all the density that there could be on this site, but that's not our job. That's yours to figure out how it works, how the numbers work for you. But I just want to know for our other fellow commissioners, this is like maybe the 3rd, 4th, or 5th project that's come in under density. This is a trend that's beginning to really concern me. What is going, and it may be just we're in a slump right now because of interest rates and construction costs. And I hope that changes in the coming as soon as possible, but we're losing density. We're not taking advantage of the density that this county has worked really hard to create as an incentive to the development community. So that's my only comment on it. But other than that, I'm voting in favor. This is great. Thank you.
Well, thank you for your kind words. And I will say, in my 25 years of building buildings here in Arlington, we've never had a better process than this one. And I will tell you genuinely that the building is better based on the SPRC comments. Mr. Sarley, yourself,
yeah,
Madam Bagley, I mean, they were really good comments. We took them to heart and it improved the design. It really did. So it was a really good process and we thank you for that.
I'll make this quick. I think it's also worth just remembering that this special affordable housing protection district didn't kick in until I think it was 3.24 FAR. So it is a fairly dense project, but I think this is a great example of we have a policy that by which we're really benefiting from the density that is being proposed. We're getting affordable housing. We're getting replacement of the affordable housing there. And we're doing so without any county expenditures as far as our AHIF or any of those sources. So I think that's a big win from a policy standpoint. Would love to see more of that. But I think in this particular project, that's a big win and would associate myself with the comments about the cooperation, especially Commissioner Bagley's leadership. I think this was a great process all around. Thanks.
Thank you. And since we had no other topics for the group discussion tonight, I'm looking for motions. Commissioner Bagley, do you have a motion for us?
I've got lots.
Start with the first one.
I move the Planning Commission recommend the county board adopt the attached general land use plan amendment resolution to expand the special affordable housing protection district SAHPD and apply note 13 on the GLUP map for the area generally bounded by 16th Street North to the north, Fairfax Drive to the south, and North Pierce Street to the west to include the parcel located in the southwest corner of the block RPC number 17-003-001 as shown on attachment 1.
Second. Oh, do you have to call? Sorry.
Oh, Commissioner Berkey, that was with the second on that one. Okay. Any further discussion or do you wish to speak to your motion? You don't have to. You don't. Okay, great. We will now vote. Commissioner Berkey,
Aye.
Commissioner Bagley,
Aye.
Commissioner Peterson,
Aye.
Commissioner Patel,
Aye.
Commissioner Lantelmi,
Aye.
Commissioner Sarli,
Aye.
Commissioner Streiner.
Aye.
Wait, are we missing? No, oh, okay, never mind. Commissioner Guevara,
Aye.
Commissioner Robertson,
Aye.
Commissioner Steinberger, aye. The motion passes 10-0, also known as unanimously for the moment. Thank you. Commissioner Bagley, do we have another motion?
Yes. I move the Planning Commission recommend the county board adopt the attached rezoning ordinance to rezone the subject parcels located at 1501 Arlington Boulevard from RA-H Hotel District to RA 4.8 Multiple Family Dwelling District, RPCs number 17-003-046-047-048-297.
I'll second that motion. I'm sorry, do you have to call?
You
him?
have a sec. Commissioner Berkey, you seconded?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion or speaking to that motion? Great. Commissioner Berkey,
Aye.
Commissioner Bagley,
Aye.
Commissioner Peterson,
Aye.
Commissioner Patel, Commissioner Lantelmi,
Aye.
Commissioner Starley,
Aye.
Commissioner Streiner,
Aye.
Commissioner Guevara,
Aye.
Commissioner Robertson,
Aye.
Commissioner Steinberger, aye. That motion also passes 10-0, also known as unanimously. Do we have a third motion?
We've got actually four, but I'll keep going.
Okay, we'll start with the third.
All right. I move the Planning Commission recommend the county board adopt the attached site plan amendment ordinance for SPLA 22-00044, site plan number 233, to expand the site area by approximately 14,589 square feet and construct a multifamily residential building with a gross floor area up to 4.76 FAR, 445,732 square feet, located at 1501 North Pierce Street, 1523 Fairfax Drive, and 1501 Arlington Boulevard. RPC numbers 17-003-001-003-046-047-048-297, with modifications of zoning ordinance requirements, including additional density, reduced parking and loading requirements, density exclusions, and other modifications as necessary to achieve the proposed development plan.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Sarli had the second. Anyone wish to speak further to this motion? No. Okay, Commissioner Berkey,
Aye.
Commissioner Bagley,
Aye.
Commissioner Peterson,
Aye.
Commissioner Patel,
Aye.
Commissioner Lantelmi,
Aye.
Commissioner Sarli,
Aye.
Commissioner Streiner,
Aye.
Commissioner Guevara,
Aye.
Commissioner Robertson,
Aye.
Commissioner Steinberger, aye. That motion also passes 10-0 in favor. And then I believe there is one additional motion. Yep, the motion to vacate. Commissioner Bagley, when you're ready.
I move the Planning Commission recommend the county board find that the ordinance of vacation to vacate, 1, a portion of county fee simple right-of-way for Fairfax Drive, 2, portions of existing easements for public street and utility purposes for Fairfax Drive, and 3, an existing 10-foot drainage and storm sewer easement, all on property belonging to 1501 Arlington Boulevard LLC, known as 1501 and 1523 Arlington Boulevard, RPC number 17-003-003-004-047, with conditions is substantially in accord with the comprehensive plan of Arlington County, Virginia.
Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Streiner with the second. Thank you. Any further discussion? Okay. Commissioner Berkey,
Aye.
Commissioner Bagley,
Aye.
Commissioner Peterson,
Aye.
Commissioner Patel,
Aye.
Commissioner Lantelmi,
Aye.
Commissioner Sarli,
Aye.
Commissioner Streiner,
Aye.
Commissioner Guevara,
Aye.
Commissioner Robertson,
Aye.
Commissioner Steinberger, aye. That motion also passes 10-0, also known as unanimously. That dispenses with the first item on our agenda for this evening. Thank you all for your participation and for bearing with us during the closed session. Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, may you please call the next item of business?
Okay, our next item of business is to discuss our organizational meetings for 2024. Right now, we're passing around the draft liaison assignments for the commissioners so that we can get through that expeditiously, since I sent it out earlier this week. So hopefully everyone has an idea of what assignment they'd like to be positioned to. I just asked. Okay. But first, we'll go into the order of how it is on the agenda. We will discuss and approve the December 4th and 6th meeting minutes.
Sorry, we're reviewing the meeting minutes. Yes, do we have a motion with regards to the meeting minutes?
December 4th and 6th.
The December 4th and 6th? Can we take them together or do we have to do them separately?
Separately, please.
Separately? All right, is there a motion with regards to the meeting minutes from December 4th?
I seek unanimous consent for approval of the December 4th meeting minutes.
Okay, so granted. Without objection, is there a motion with regards to the December 6th meeting minutes?
I seek unanimous consent for approval of the December 6th meeting minutes.
Okay, no objections, that motion so carries as well.
Mr. Pfeiffer, any current matters?
Don't believe we have any current matters this month. Thank you.
Okay, and I don't believe there are any SPRC rosters this month, correct? Okay, Commissioner Lantoni?
Yeah, Madam Chair, with that last year indulgence, I have a, something that Mr. Pfeiffer didn't raise, but I think should have. This is Planning Magazine for the American Planning Association this month. You'll notice the cover is someone we all know, Ms. Kelly Brown. This is because the cover article for Planning Magazine is Arlington's Missing Middle EHO effort of last year. Also, there's a picture of Mr. Ladd in there also. But it's no, not Mr. Pfeiffer, unfortunately. I guess he wasn't photogenic enough. But it's a great article discussing the community process, the planning process, and how it went through. So I wanted to take the opportunity to make sure that the world knows that our planning staff has been recognized nationwide for the work, and it did focus on the planning staff for the great work they did for the Missing Middle EHO effort that was passed unanimously by our county board last year. So anyway, one more picture of it. I'll pass it around. You can all take a quick look and then give it back to me.
Perhaps you could scan the article to us.
I think it's online.
Okay.
Yeah. So American Planning Association, APA, you'll be able to find it there.
Wonderful. Well, always exciting to hear that our county staff we work so closely with has been recognized for this project that took a long time. Okay, so as I believe LRPC has a roster.
I seek unanimous consent for approval of the 12th Street Landing Brookfield TSA LRPC membership roster.
Okay. Without objection, that motion carries.
Thank you.
Any other LRPC rosters? Just that one? Okay. We do have the Planning Commission meeting schedule for 2024. You all received a handout. Any questions with regards to the meeting schedule for 2024? No, Giselle, can you circulate to me I'm sorry, Madam Clerk, can you please circulate to me the copy of the signups for meeting participation to represent the Planning Commission? Commissioner Patel would like to sign up.
Well, I think we already, we're just gonna give those last two meetings to her since she wasn't here.
Okay.
I actually just.
Oh, did not everyone get this schedule?
Everyone who read their email got that schedule.
Okay, everyone who read their email got this planning meetings, the Planning Commission schedule meeting thing for 2024. That was not English.
Can I see your?
Yes, you can see mine. Okay. Do I need to do a motion to adopt the meeting schedule? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I please have a motion for adoption of the 2024 meeting schedule for Planning Commission?
I move we adopt the 2024 meeting schedule for the Planning Commission as set forth in the draft document from the clerk
By unanimous consent?
by unanimous consent.
I
Okay.
object.
What is your objection?
I object. I would like to talk about it.
The meeting schedule?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I just want to raise the issue before we seek unanimous consent that there is a Wednesday meeting on Valentine's Day. And I don't know how inclined this particular group is to take off on Valentine's Day, but we have had quorum issues for lesser days. So I just wanted to raise that particular issue, that February 14th is our recess meeting. And I don't know, Mr. Pfeiffer, whether you guys have teed up for February. I presume you haven't teed up for February yet, but I don't know what that looks like, whether it's a one-nighter or a two-nighter that month. But you could potentially have a quorum issue
I think it's going through.
on that night. The other thing is, I feel like, Madam Vice Chair, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like APS's spring break might hit the April 8th. There may be an issue for people who are going out of town. I think it's April 1st through, is it March 25th?
Actually, the dates are at the bottom of the schedule.
Oh, thank you.
Commissioner
Sorry. Okay.
Patel.
So March 25th, so that was not an issue. I just remember last year we had a big problem during July. Remember the July 4th problem? And so looking at this now, I only raised the February 14th issue for folks who like to celebrate. I am not one of those folks that likes to celebrate, but for my colleagues, I do not judge you.
We don't have the July 3rd thing this year, right?
No,
Or
this
Labor
was
Day
emailed
or
around,
anything?
but the meetings for July are set for July 8th and July 10th. So I think we've learned some lessons, July 4th being the prior week. We obviously don't want a repeat of what happened with the July meeting last year, and we, appreciate that was a burden on us and staff. So with regards to that, I think we have learned a lesson. July 4th, for those referencing, is a Thursday this year. So I imagine many people are taking Friday the 5th off. Hopefully y'all have returned from whatever you're doing by Monday the 8th and can participate. So that is that. With regards to the February meetings, we had started to discuss that. I think there may actually be a third night of meetings in February. Madam Clerk, Mr. Pfeiffer, is that accurate? Oh, that was a fun noise.
Potential.
I don't think we've gotten quite that far, but in my estimation, it's going to be at least two.
Yes.
It's going to be at least a two, potentially a third. So what would our option for a third be?
I can speak to that. The option would be for the Thursday. So if in fact we do end up having 3 nights, it will be on Wednesday, the 14th and Thursday, the 15th.
And Monday the 12th.
And Monday, the 12th. That's correct.
12, 14, 15.
Correct.
Okay.
We do not hold meetings on Tuesdays due to the work session for the county board.
Right. Okay. So since it's been raised that there is a concern with regards to a possible Valentine's Day meeting.
Can we do Monday and Thursday? And then if we need the third night, we'll do it on
I think the
Wednesday.
issue with that is advertising.
No, we have time to advertise.
Okay.
Now, what we have done historically, if necessary, we've moved meetings to the following Monday. The only problem with that is it's
President's Day.
It's President's Day, and then it would be a crunch, even if we did it on the Tuesday, because the board meeting is that Saturday. So y'all just gonna have to suck it up, kiss your loved ones, and come on to Planning Commission on the 14th.
Is there an option whereby if we're not crunched on advertising it yet, could we go with the 12th and the 15th, understanding the 14th may need to be added?
If we don't need a third night.
If we need a third night, it would, the night of last resort, adding a third would be the 14th, which is Wednesday. Does this body prefer to go with a Monday, Thursday plan for that week with a 50-50, possibly 60-40 likelihood we may have 3 nights of meetings that week, and I'll still see all of you lovely people on Valentine's Day?
I'm going to be that person. Oh, go ahead. I would actually prefer the 14th than the 15th, but that's just my schedule. My issue is just predictability. That's actually, that's a much bigger concern than a specific date. It's just getting some predictability a little further out, for what it's worth.
I think this is a valid discussion, and we obviously had the issue with July 4th last year. Informal poll. Who prefers to have it on the 14th? Who prefers to have a guarantee of the 15th with the possibility of the 14th anyway?
I don't care about the 14th. If we do it or not, my spouse will understand.
Okay. Jim has a nice spouse. Okay. So are we going with the Monday, Wednesday because that's more predictable?
I guess. Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. This is why we need a strategic planning session.
I think this is it.
Jeez.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Sure.
And then we can move on. So I would assume, this is probably more for Giselle, I would assume that the cadence of the schedule is really, the county board has to set its schedule and we can
Correct.
set ours.
That's correct.
So that's a conversation I would be interested in as a newer member over the course of this next year, because it's really difficult in January to like throw everything in the calendar and then try to figure everything out. Like my calendar was already set several months ago, so that makes it very tough at the beginning of the year. It's not necessarily something this body can do if it's the county board. So I'm maybe hoping I can lobby some county board members to reconsider their calendar cadence down the road.
Do let me know how that goes.
Because I feel because it's just if we want greater participation in bodies like the Planning Commission, we've got to make it easier to participate, and it's too difficult if people can't at least know when meetings are going to be. If we wait and wait and wait, and so I don't think there's a problem in setting a calendar a year out or whatever. APS does it with the school calendar. Other bodies do it. I think it's a little inconvenient, to say the least, that we're waiting till now to set a calendar. So I would
My
like to
understanding is the county board would set that. I mean, after an election, don't they set that with their new body in place?
right.
January?
That's
No, that's a
probably-
question for county
It's an
staff.
offline conversation to.
No, my question is a question for county staff now to answer that question.
Okay.
So what you can do, if I could make a suggestion for Mr. Berkey, since you have a board member who is your liaison for the planning commission, you can have a conversation with her, who is
Miss Libby Garvey.
Correct.
I just want to add on to Commissioner Berkey's point about not just the dates, but how long these meetings are going. We had a highly uncontroversial item today, and that went for 40 minutes. So, as I like to have said to you guys last year, let's act normal. Let's act normal.
We had the opportunity to unanimously consent the agenda, and we had a 20-minute discussion on Valentine's Day.
I mean, well, no, we haven't. We literally finished at 9:40 on an uncontroversial item. Like, I think, again, just being conscious of each other's time, because most of us do have young children at home. So anyways, so if February 14th is not an issue, Commissioner Lantoni, can you do your unanimous motion again?
I move that I ask unanimous consent to approve the Planning Commission's meeting schedule for 2024, as set out in the draft document from the clerk.
Moved without objection. Thank you. I lost my papers. Do we have to, Madam Clerk, do we have to adopt the annual report?
Not this time.
No, we'll adopt the annual report at our next meeting.
In February, because it's in draft still now.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
With regards to committee and liaison assignments, we did receive this list in advance of this meeting. Are folks prepared to expeditiously, and I mean with a 20-minute limit, to pick our liaison assignments now? Or do we want to punt that to next month when we may have 3 nights of meetings?
Can we do the committees of the whole and then maybe do the other ones offline? Can we just do LRPC, SPRC, PFRC, and ZOCO?
Do the other ones as we've done before,
Yeah.
which is do the round robin. People sort of bid on them.
Yeah, I thought we usually do that going around the room and kind of signing up. That was what I was setting a 20-minute limit for.
But we usually do that
today.
while we're doing business. So we just send it back and forth while we're doing business. So
Either way,
Okay.
whatever y'all want to do.
That's fine. So are we,
Why don't we go ahead and just, as Commissioner Patel suggested, go ahead and do the first page, which is the immediate commission committees. And when we come back in February, it'll just add another item to your other business. Then we can do the remaining commissions and committees.
okay, that's fine. And the names that are already on here assigned, that's carryover from 2023?
Correct.
Okay, just for anyone who is curious about that. Okay, so at this point in time, for the committees of the whole, we have for LRPC, we have Commissioner Lantelmi. Are you,
No,
no, that's not.
That
Who is
is
that gonna
now
be?
Commissioner Patel and Commissioner Berkey. And just so everybody knows, Commissioner Patel and Commissioner Berkey are going to be relying upon each of you to help us with LRPC, which will be transitioning to an SPRC style model. So we will be calling you when projects are coming up. However, the first one is January 29th, which was the roster we just approved.
And when you say calling, you mean selecting a commissioner to lead to co-chair individual projects? Okay. Understood. For SPRC, Commissioner Peterson, are you sticking Commissioner Peterson? That retains. ZOCO, Commissioner Sarli, are you retaining?
Wow, didn't know
Okay.
that.
For PFRC, I have Commissioner Bagley. Okay, wonderful. I believe we are still looking for a co-chair for that.
I was gonna say, is this like an open bid kind of thing? Like,
Yeah, you want a bid?
$20 the max there, right? That's the gift. Yeah, I mean, that sounds like something
Yeah,
I'd be interested in.
excellent. Commissioner Streiner. Great. I believe we are required to have a third commissioner on PFRC. Is that correct? Yes, I'm hearing that yes, we need to have a third person. So Commissioner Streiner is going to co-chair, but we need one other fine person to sign up for PFRC. And you can't go home until someone does it.
You better pick somebody. Happy or Berkey? Look at him here.
Apparently I love Zoko, so I'm off that
Is there another one?
Yeah, the PSMP one. Yeah, the planning study.
I guess I'll do it. Yeah.
Yay! I can talk to you about it. I chaired it for like 2 years. That was an extra year than you're supposed to.
I don't even know what I'm
It was. I
volunteering
did
for,
2
but
extra years.
sure.
Huh? Oh, okay. Actually, Commissioner Patel tells me it was more than 2 years. So,
5 years, she just got off.
okay, fair enough. And Commissioner Robertson, I'm hearing that you're interested in the Public Spaces Master Plan Implementation Advisory Committee. Okay. And you would like to so be our representative? Wonderful. Madam Clerk, I will give you my little note scribblies on here so that you have that started. And then next month, we will circulate this during other business so that we can start selecting the other commission and committee assignments. I believe that is everything on our agenda for this evening. With that in mind, I am gaveling us out. Thank y'all. We will see you in February on the 12th.
The quick announcement, no Zoko this month.
That should have happened before I gavelled us out. Okay.
Congratulations on your first meeting.
Thank you. Huh? Okay.